We got great news coming from Oklahoma today. Actually, a couple days ago, but anyway, the Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled in favor of the petitioners who gathered more than enough signatures and ended up not being able to have the question on the ballot for legalizing medical marijuana in Oklahoma because the Attorney General of Oklahoma at the time, Mr. Scott Pruitt, current EPA administrator of the Trump administration, decided that he was going to change the title of the thing, and it made it sound more like it was to try to legalize recreational marijuana, which, if you know anything about Oklahoma, was definitely a no sale. It was there was people talking about, oh, I'm not gonna vote for that. I mean, I only read a couple of statements like that, but whatever. We'll check this out. So, Oklahoma Supreme Court rules on medical marijuana ballot question. And like Oklahoma, there was a couple of other ballot initiatives that got shut down by the system, I guess, at play. One was in Georgia, where there was a medical marijuana initiative, where they had enough signatures too. The court ruled that there was something wrong with that. Now, I'd like to say that I did do videos about all of these stories that I'm talking about. The Michigan, where the Michigan had My Legalize, which had way more than enough signatures, and once again, got shot down because of some rule that said you had to do it within 6 months, and it just bullshit. I think the one in Georgia was talking about a lot of signatures got disqualified, is what happened there, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry if I am mistaken, but that also happened in Arkansas, where they had two competing sort of medical marijuana things, ballot initiatives going at the same time. And I guess the rule was that whoever, if you guys get enough signatures, you can both be on the ballot. Well, at the last minute, a bunch of signatures, again, I believe, were disqualified, and only one of them got to be on the ballot, and it was the more restrictive one that didn't allow for growing. I'm not sure what other things about it were, I can't remember, but again, I did do videos about these back when these stories happened before the November 2016 elections, so if you want to check those out, I don't really recommend them because when I watch my old videos, I'm kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Sure, I'll say that about this video in a couple weeks. But anyway, I'm just glad to be reporting these stories, and I'm glad these stories are happening. This is another victory for people that are grassroots movement, really. Who knows how bad the actual wording of their proposal is, but it's got to be better than something that the Oklahoma state government would make. We've seen that time and time again, that these local governments are scrambling around to try to make laws themselves before the people can come up with their own laws, because in the climate we're in now, it's pretty much like if it's on the ballot, people are going to vote yes for medical marijuana. The approval in America for medical marijuana ranges depending on what poll you look at and when the poll was taken, but approval for medical marijuana is anywhere from the 79% to 93%. So I think anything is going to pass at this point. The Oklahoma Supreme Court has ruled in favor of those who work to put legalizing medical marijuana up for a vote of the people. The Supreme Court made the decision after supporters sued, saying former Attorney General Scott Pruitt changed the ballot question in a way that would mislead voters. That original ballot question read at the beginning, quote, a yes vote legalizes the licensed use, sale, and growth of marijuana in Oklahoma for medicinal purposes. But after supporters got enough signatures to put the measure up for a vote, Pruitt rewrote the question. And then it started off after he wrote it, quote, this measure legalizes the licensed use, sale, and growth of marijuana in Oklahoma. And then there are no qualifying medical conditions identified. It's almost like he read the thing and then just was like, wanted to say a couple things about it, but that was called a title. And it should have never been allowed in the first place, but, this is what happens when you got a bunch of right-wingers running things. Democrats don't have the guts to stand up to them, and they're just going to pretty much steamroll through whatever the fuck they want and shut some shit down. Like, I remember I did a video before this happened, and it was like, yay, Oklahoma has more than enough signatures to get on the ballot. That video got very little attention, probably less than 20 views or something. And at this point, the video where you're talking about, that it got taken off because of the Pruitt thing, that video has almost 1,000 views. So I think you can clearly see what people are more interested in, and especially after they got shot down. And I also made videos where the people that put this ballot initiative together and the other activists, that obviously there's a lot of activists involved in the marijuana legalization world, I guess you would call it. Underground. It's not even the underground anymore. Just everyday citizens, even people that don't smoke marijuana, are sick of this and they want to see it change. So, I did some stories about how they went to the Capitol and protested, shut the Capitol down, and, now they finally get a win. Quote, our concern was it made the ballot initiative sound like it was about recreational marijuana, said Allie Shin, the ACLU of Oklahoma Director of External Affairs. So the ACLU, on behalf of Oklahomans for Health, sued. We really think that former Attorney General Scott Pruitt rewrote this with the intention of inserting his political agenda into the process, explained Shin. Quote, that is absolutely not what the Attorney General rewrite process is about. After the court ruled, the original language will appear on the ballot. Current Attorney General Mike Hunter said simply, quote, we disagree with that result, but respect the decision of the state's highest court. What do you disagree with exactly? You disagree that Pruitt's language was, you think Pruitt's language was okay? Pruitt's language sounded like the opinion of somebody that don't like the medical marijuana law. He also knew that if he wrote that it wouldn't fly. Like it wouldn't, after he changed the title, it wasn't like it could just go to the ballot and be put on it and be like, okay, we're going to put this to a vote. It still had to go through an approval process because he changed it. Because of his changing it, the approval process made it so that it wouldn't be approved. There's no way that it would have been able to be on the ballot on time after the time that he changed the title. Sorry if I confused anybody with that, but it's a little confusing. And it's a little bit like, hey, this isn't your job, So Mike Hunter, just another right-wing shill. Of course, he don't want marijuana legalized in any way, shape, or form in Oklahoma. Oklahomans will vote on the issue in 2018, whether the governor or the attorney general likes it or not. Now, the governor, if the governor wants to, could call a special election to vote earlier. I believe if they do that, the special election is going to cost some money, obviously. I've heard the number go between $500,000 and $2 million. I don't know if all that's true. There you have Mike Hunter and Scott Pruitt. So, who knows? The governor, I believe, is still the same lady that Mary is her name, maybe? I'm not sure. But anyway, she's the one that facilitates this. I don't see any reason why they would have the special election for this unless they realize it, unless they really don't want it to pass. Because a special election, they could do it really fast so that the people trying to legalize the marijuana don't have time to really do a lot of marketing. And other than maybe people like me and articles like this one here, a lot of people probably don't even know. This was a local News 9, Oklahoma's own news story. I've seen some marijuana writers mention it, and other than that, it's basically it's not really a big story. You're not seeing this like wall to wall on CNN like a missing airplane or something. But nonetheless, there you have it. You have some shady business by Scott Pruitt getting fixed after him. My only question is, I got that question mark over here. What happens to Scott Pruitt? Is that what he did? Was that illegal? The Supreme Court said, hey, that's a no-no, which means it's either unconstitutional or it's against some kind of a really deep rule, a really important rule that you're not supposed to break. Is this offense an offense? What did he actually do? The Supreme Court ruled against what he did, and they ruled in favor of the Civil Liberties Union lawsuit. But what does any of this mean? I mean, we know the good news is it's going to be on the ballot. Okay, cool. But the question remains is, how do we stop this from happening again? We need to strengthen the ballot process because it seems to be the only way that the people have any power these days. With the government, you have two parties that are both just corrupt as it can get, in the bag for the corporations. The very corporations that want to keep marijuana illegal are donating to both parties. So, Democrats are not going to lift a finger to try to help this movement. They're more concerned with stonewalling the movement because their donors want them to. So, this is just ridiculous, man. Scott Pruitt, I don't know. The he's a joke. I don't know how he's the head of the EPA. He sued the EPA over a dozen times. When he was Attorney General for Oklahoma, don't forget, he's the guy that sued Colorado. And now he's in the federal government. So maybe those lawsuits, which are back in the ninth District Court, maybe those lawsuits will get some new life breathed into them or whatever because Pruitt's presence in the federal government. And I don't know, maybe not. It is the EPA, which has zero to do with any of those complaints. Unless you're talking about the pollution of the air because of the marijuana smell was just too much. It was lowering the price of those horse farms, so they couldn't smell their horse shit through the marijuana cloud. Anyway. All right, Oklahoma, let's keep following this and see what happens in 2018, or if there's a special election, I will keep you up to date.